Have you ever wondered who really commands heaven? I'm not talking about the God you know from holy books, but the one who took control after a devastating war that shook the very fabric of reality. Get ready to dive into the epic story of Michael, the golden archangel who carries the weight of the universe on his 12 resplendent wings. Imagine with me an ethereal battlefield, covered by clouds tinged red. The air vibrates with the clash of celestial swords against demonic blades. Angels and demons face each other in a deadly dance that would last millennia. And hovering above it all, an imposing figure with golden hair and emerald green eyes observes the chaos unfolding. This is Michael, the right hand of the Creator himself, about to face the greatest challenge of his immortal existence. But before we dive into this epic journey, let's go back in time a bit. Michael wasn't born a leader. He was created to be the most loyal of servants. Imagine being molded by the hands of God himself, receiving not only life but a divine purpose. Michael was conceived as the supreme guardian, the general of the celestial armies. His 12 golden wings are not mere adornment, but a symbol of the power and responsibility entrusted to him. For countless ages, Michael faithfully served his Creator. He led legions of angels, maintaining order in the celestial realm and combating the forces of darkness. His sword of light was feared by demons and revered by his winged brethren. But the true test of his faith and leadership was yet to come. The great war broke out like thunder in a serene sky. Angels, demons, and fallen angels grappled in a battle that would shake the very foundations of creation. Michael was at the center of this whirlwind, his golden wings gleaming amidst the chaos as he faced unimaginable enemies. But all his power was not enough to prevent the tragedy that followed. The unthinkable happened. God, the Almighty Creator, fell in battle. Can you imagine the weight that fell upon Michael's shoulders at that moment? The entire universe seemed to be crumbling. The angels, creatures of unwavering faith, suddenly found themselves orphaned. Panic threatened to spread not only through the celestial realm but throughout all creation. It was in this critical moment that Michael proved his true worth. With his heart broken by the loss of his Creator, but with unshakable determination, he gathered the remaining seraphim. Together, they did the unthinkable. They reactivated the celestial system, the complex web of divine energy that maintained the balance of a universe. But reactivating the system was just the beginning. Michael had to assume the role of his Creator, becoming the center of this intricate cosmic mechanism. Imagine the pressure. Every beat of his golden wings now reverberated through the very structure of reality. Every decision he made affected not only the celestial realm but the entire balance between good and evil. And so, Michael found himself not just as the leader of angels, but as the guardian of all creation. An overwhelming responsibility for any being, even one as powerful as he. But Michael did not let himself be discouraged. With compassion that rivaled his power, he began to rebuild and reorganize the celestial realm. One of his first and most controversial decisions was to implement the Brave Saint system. Inspired by playing cards, this system allowed exceptional humans to be elevated to the status of angels. Michael became the King of Spades, symbolizing his position as supreme leader. But why would such a powerful being seek the help of mere mortals? The answer lies in Michael's compassionate nature itself. He understood that the gap between the divine and the mundane needed to be reduced. Humans, with all their imperfection and potential, could bring a new perspective to the celestial realm. And so, figures like Irina Shiddu and Giulio Gesualdo were angelized, becoming Michael's ace and joker, respectively. But not all of Michael's decisions were met with universal approval. Remember Asia, the young nun with the gift of healing? Michael allowed her exile, sacrificing the well-being of an individual for what he believed to be the greater good, a decision that would weigh on his conscience for a long time. It's easy to judge Michael for choices like this, but we must ask ourselves, what would we do in his place? Carrying the weight of all creation on his shoulders, each decision has cosmic consequences. Michael's compassion is vast, but it is also tempered by the need to preserve the fragile balance he struggles to maintain. And it was this same compassion that led Michael to make one of the most surprising decisions of his long existence: to form an alliance with his former enemies. Imagine the shock that ran through the celestial realm when Michael announced that the angels would unite with demons and fallen angels. Many questioned his sanity. Others accused him of betrayal. But Michael saw beyond ancient rivalries. He understood that the survival of all species depended on cooperation. And so, with a humility that surprised even his fiercest opponents, Michael extended his hand to the leaders of other factions. It was in this context that Michael met Issei, the unlikely Red Dragon Emperor. Many expected the archangel to treat the young demon with contempt or, at best, with cold cordiality. But Michael surprised everyone once again. He not only treated Issei with genuine kindness but went beyond. He gifted him with Ascalon, the legendary dragon-slaying sword of St. George. This gesture was not just diplomatic, but deeply symbolic. By entrusting such a powerful weapon to a demon, Michael was declaring his faith in the possibility of a future where ancient enmities could be overcome. He saw in Issei not a threat, but a potential ally in the fight against the true evil that threatened all realms. But not everything was gestures of peace and cooperation. When confronted with real threats to the cosmic order, Michael showed why he was feared even by the most powerful demons. Remember Rizavim, the architect of so many tragedies? When Michael confronted him, there was no mercy in his green eyes. The archangel made it clear that, although he preferred peace, he was still the most formidable warrior of the celestial realm. And it was this duality, infinite compassion allied with devastating power, that defined Michael's reign as leader of the angels. He was not just a distant ruler, but an active guardian of creation. When the terrorist organization Chaos Brigade threatened to destabilize the fragile balance between factions, Michael was one of the first to stand against them. But perhaps Michael's greatest challenge came not from external enemies, but from within his own heart. How to maintain angelic purity in an increasingly complex and nuanced world. How to lead celestial beings when the lines between good and evil were becoming increasingly blurred. Michael's answer was surprising in its simplicity: adapt without losing essence. He understood that the rigidity of the old celestial laws no longer fit the new reality. And so, with a courage that few would expect from such an ancient being, Michael began to reinterpret and make more flexible some of the strictest rules of the celestial realm. A striking example of this new approach was his attitude towards love between angels and other species. Traditionally, such a union would be unthinkable, resulting in the immediate fall of the angel involved. But Michael, in his wisdom, saw beyond millennial prejudices. When he learned of the love between Irina and Issei, he did not condemn. On the contrary, he actively sought a way to make this union possible without compromising Irina's angelic nature. This search led to the creation of a special space, a chamber where angel and demon could unite without catastrophic consequences. To many, this seemed like heresy. But Michael saw in this not just a concession to love, but an important step towards true peace and understanding between species. However, not all threats could be resolved with diplomacy and adaptation. When the fearsome Trihexa, the beast of the apocalypse, was awakened, Michael found himself facing a dilemma that would test not only his power but his very philosophy of leadership. The battle against Trihexa was epic on a scale that defies human comprehension. Imagine, the sky cracking like a shattered mirror, reality itself twisting under the devastating power of the beast. Michael led the celestial forces in this titanic battle, his golden wings shining like a beacon of hope amidst the chaos. But even all the combined power of the leaders of the various factions was not enough to defeat Trihexa definitively. It was then that Azazel, the leader of the fallen angels, proposed a desperate plan: to seal Trihexa in an isolation barrier, along with the most powerful leaders of each faction. Imagine the weight of this decision for Michael. To abandon his post as guardian of the celestial system, to leave behind the entire realm he swore to protect, to launch himself into an endless battle against evil incarnate. Many would expect him to hesitate, to seek an alternative. But Michael, true to his guardian nature, did not falter. With a determination that moved even his fiercest critics, Michael bid farewell to his beloved celestial realm. His last words to Gabriel, who would take his place as guardian of the system, were a mixture of instruction and plea: protect them, guide them, and never forget the love that moves us. And so, Michael, the golden archangel, voluntarily entered an eternal exile. Now, beyond the isolation barrier, he fights tirelessly against Trihexa. Each beat of his wings, each strike of his sword of light, is an act of sacrifice for the safety of all creation. But even in this self-imposed exile, Michael's influence continues to be felt. Through sporadic communications with Ajuka, he continues to offer guidance and wisdom. His physical absence has only increased his spiritual presence in the hearts of angels and mortals alike. And so we come to the present. Michael, the being created to be the most loyal of servants, has become the most dedicated of guardians. His journey is a testament to the capacity for evolution and adaptation, even for supposedly immutable beings like angels. But Michael's story is far from over. As he continues his eternal battle against Trihexa, new threats arise to challenge the fragile balance he fought so hard to establish. The three evil gods of Evie Atold, beings whose power makes even infinity seem insignificant, cast their shadow over all realms. And so, I leave you with a question to ponder. If Michael, with all his power and wisdom, chose to sacrifice himself for the safety of all, what does that say about the nature of true heroism? And more importantly, in a world where even angels need to adapt, what is our role in the great tapestry of the cosmos?